wild winds run, where the skies stretch wide and kiss the sun. The sagebrush whispers, the rivers hum. This land's a story just begun. Wyoming calls, where the heart beats free. Mountains rise and dreams run deep. Past the borders, past the sign, there's a world alive beyond the fence line. Boots hit gravel and the prairie sings with every hoofbeat. The frontier rings from ranchers' hands to miners' veins. The spirit of the West remains. Wyoming calls, where the heart beats free. Mountains rise and dreams run deep. Past the borders, past the sign, there's a world alive beyond the fence line. So come ride with me through the dust and time. Find the soul of Wyoming beyond the fence line, beyond the fence beyond the fence line, beyond the fence beyond the fence line, where the wild winds run, where the skies stretch wide and kiss the sun.
Good morning, Wyoming. Happy Wednesday, February 4th. Hope you guys are doing well. So I kind of put a precursor out this morning that I really was not looking forward to doing this show today, but you know what? Someone has to do it, right? And on Wednesdays, you guys know I do U.S. and world news. And today I am going to get into everything from Congress, the spending bills that Congress has passed, to the Epstein files. And folks, I'm just going to be honest. Our government, political parties are destroying this country. Before I get, too deep into the issues today, I'm going to monologue a little bit to set the stage. Because I'm just going to be honest with you guys, the struggle is real. In politics, when you choose to abide by the truth, regardless of cost, there is a cost. There's a cost to sleep. There's a cost to peace. There's a cost to balance and seeking the truth. Today's show is not a fun one for me. I'm going to address these headlines honestly, objectively. I'm going to give you guys the facts. And I come in with a heavy heart, though. I truly, truly come in with a heavy heart. I'll give you the facts today. You can decide where you land on all this. But guys, we've got to stand for something, and we've got to stand tall right now today, or we're going to lose this constitutional republic. Over the past week, I was even talking to a friend of mine yesterday. I've really tried to I want to shift the narrative, you guys. I want to bring good news to you, positive developments. I want to bring something uplifting to share from the headlines. And I don't got a whole lot. Other than the frozen iguanas falling out of the trees in Florida, I don't know what to tell you guys. But before anything ever makes it into my show that I do every day, you guys, I dig into the facts. I go past the headlines. I go deep. And we get all of these good news headlines that we're getting. And I'm like, oh, that would be great. U.S. steel production is back. We're cutting the budget. We're doing all of these things that we say we're doing. And then I dig in past the headlines and find out that it's half truths. It's all a spin, smoke and mirrors. Some of it's just outright lies. It's illusions dressed in headlines. It's not truth. It's not substance. And it's certainly not justice. And I'm reminded, scripture says that for in much wisdom, there is much grief. And I kind of feel that today. This comes from Ecclesiastes. And he who increases in knowledge increases in sorrow. And I tell you, getting involved in politics, I am feeling Ecclesiastes 1:18 today. So what do I do? That's the great question. What do I do from here as I'm running for governor in Wyoming, and I'm digging in and I'm just finding all of this? And guys, this just isn't just going on at the U.S., the federal level. This is going on in Wyoming too. Do I focus, like so many do, on the left and keep people distracted from what's going on the left and what they're doing and the evils over there? Or do I talk about what's going on in our own house? While I left the Republican Party, I'm still a principled conservative. Do I spend my time talking about what everyone already knows? Good versus evil, left versus right, Democrats versus Republicans. But that doesn't really bring clarity, does it? It brings noise. Instead, I believe that my responsibility is to strip away from the headlines, you guys, expose what's underneath. And then you've got to decide, because the truth still matters. And I'll be honest, I come to you today somewhat at a loss. When I talk about all these issues that I'm going to talk about today, they're hard issues, but the facts matter. Some criticize me for not, talking a lot about attacking the left and doing that. And I don't really see the point. We already know what they stand for. We know what's going on over there. What concerns me more right now is how often our own are betraying us, quietly, consistently, and with very little accountability. John 16:33 says, in this world you'll have tribulation. In Matthew 24:12, it says, because lawlessness will abound, the love of many will grow cold. We see this lawlessness around us, you guys. And I see the love of many growing cold. And I pray that my love doesn't grow cold. But we live in a fallen world. And this world's not our home. The scriptures warn us that in the last days, times will be perilous. And I feel the weight of that today. Jesus doesn't stop at the warning. He finishes it in saying, be of good cheer. I have overcome the world. And I'm relying on that today as I go over these hard issues with you guys today. I'm going to rely on the fact that because of my faith, I know that God has overcome the world. But the truth is still telling. The light is still worth shining, and I refuse to trade honesty for comfort. I just won't do it. My wife shared this with me this morning. John Adams said, I fear that every elected office, members will obtain an influence by noise and not sense, by meaninglessness and not greatness, by ignorance and not learning, by contracted hearts and not large souls. There must be decency and respect. So, with that opening monologue, you guys, I'm going to start out. I'm going to start out with the Epstein files. Then I'm going to talk about Congress. I'm going to talk about the great egglusion. I'm going to talk about graphs and data being given to us with a twist. Inflation, U.S. manufacturing, Save ID. I'm going to talk about all this stuff today. I'm going to talk about the potential UN collapse, what the Federal Reserve is doing, manufacturing. The government's going to start building cheap housing for people, apparently. What is going on, you guys? What in the world is going on? The DOJ last week released 3 million files. These files are incredibly made difficult to navigate, get through them. It exposes victims while protecting the perpetrators. And yeah, sure, there's a few fall guys whose names have been listed. They're removing thousands of files in real time to protect from harm for the administration and potentially to protect the victims who got exposed. What are we doing? Well, we get the truth. Trump tells us we just need to move on. We need to forget about this. We need to stop fighting for it. Folks, we are looking at thousands of people, potentially, that have been committing heinous crimes against mankind, especially against the most vulnerable in our culture and society, kids, women, and children. And we're protecting them. What are we doing? And we're removing these things real time. That helps you question, wonder, wow, before they're releasing this stuff, what are they willing to remove? What are they willing to hide to protect the world's elite and wealthy? We've got to call this stuff out, you guys. There's apparently another 2 million files that still have to be released. But you know what's not happening? No one's being called to the plate. No one's being called to account. This evil, this rot within our culture is a reality, you guys. And we have got to stand up against it. You know what? I'm going to say this plainly. I'm going to say this clearly. Right now in Washington, there is only basically one man standing in the gap in Washington. His name is Thomas Massey out of Kentucky. Here's a man who has voted conservatively 91% of the time, but he will not on principle allow the continued protection of pedophiles, expanded bureaucracy, and more wars. One guy. And here we are. We elected the most conservative Congress to expose evil, to reduce government, to give freedom back to the people. And they're doing absolutely the opposite. The headlines say they are doing these things, but they're doing the opposite. We must keep pushing, you guys. Justice is, God is love, but God is also just. We all sin and we all fall short of the glory of God. I'm the first to admit that. We all have things maybe hidden in our closet, in the darkness of our hearts, that we want God to take care of. But folks, this goes deeper. This goes deeper than anything we can possibly imagine. And our government is hiding it. Look at the narrative over the last 10 years related to the Epstein files, you guys. They don't exist. There's nothing to see. Oh, wait, we have millions of files. Oh, wait, we're never going to prosecute anything. There's no crimes. There's no proof that there was trafficking going on. And the list goes on. Go look at this stuff yourself. Look at the narrative that has been spun for the last decade. This must be exposed, folks. This must be brought to light. We must shine a light in this darkness. We must stand for truth and righteousness in these areas. And we have to speak out. We're called to speak out. We cannot be silent, folks. We just cannot. be silent. It's sad. Second part, Speaker Johnson. He wasn't joking when he was proud that Congress funded 96% of the government. Folks, they have betrayed the people on every level when it comes to funding everything. You know, we sent Doge to Congress in 2024. We wanted them to cut government spending. We wanted them to stop funding immoral programs and NGOs and Medicaid and refugees and special interests and foreign governments and endowments and commissions and government parties. And the list goes on. Guys, they funded everything that we asked them not to fund. They funded everything that they fought for in the last government shutdown. Department of Education has been funded higher than ever. Medicaid funded higher than ever. Funding all of these commissions and organizations and endowments that fund NGOs. They're continuing down this path of reckless financial spending. And you know what? We know the future. We know God wins. You know what? We know how the end comes. And we're living perhaps in those last days. But that doesn't mean that we should stay silent. That doesn't mean that we shouldn't speak the truth and do it in love, obviously. But speak the truth. We've got to do it, guys. And our Congress has betrayed the people. It betrayed what we've asked them to do. They shut down Doge last April when Elon Musk and his team were getting too close to the truth. And now we're funding everything. And somehow we're proud of that at record levels. I'm glad my hope is not in this world and that I don't put my faith in those that are elected. And folks, honestly, if you elect me as Wyoming governor, please don't put your faith in me because I will fail you. I've got a whole bunch more stuff to cover here. So what about the great egglusion? I call this the eggnomic indicator. You know, eggs are down and we're using this as a great like sort of bastion for lower cost of living, and groceries are going down. You ever wonder why eggs are down so much? But it seems like to me, I don't know about you guys, I go out and buy groceries every week. It seems like most groceries are continue to go up, but eggs are down. You wonder why this egglusion, or what is going on with this egglusion? Let me tell you what happened. Government shifted the cost of eggs through subsidies last year. You're giving the illusion of a thriving economy by making eggs cheaper. But did you know that the U.S. government funded the egg industry, subsidized the egg industry to a tone of $1 billion? That's right. That's right. Taxpayers gave $1 billion to the egg industry last year. So Americans buy about 95 million dozen eggs every year. So what did that dozen eggs actually cost you last year? Well, if you add the government subsidies, add $10.52 to the cost of a dozen eggs. That dozen eggs that you paid $3 for actually cost you $13.52 plus interest because of government subsidies. What is going on, you guys? Can we believe anything that we're being told? I'm not confident. And by the way, I'm not picking on Trump. I'm not picking on policy. I'm just telling you guys the truth. I'm telling you guys the facts. And then you can go ahead and decide for yourself where you want to fall on this stuff. So again, add $10.52 plus interest to those dozen eggs that you bought last year. And that was your actual cost in America for a dozen eggs. We see these headlines. I'm going to share this headline with you. This came out of the White House. U.S. steel production booms. U.S. steel is back. American steel is back. Looks great, right, you guys? Wow, it looks like steel has almost doubled. But let's look at the fine print here on the left. Now, let me pull up an actual graph of this. And guys, I use this as an example. And the reason that I use this example is to show you what can we believe. Because most of us will just pass by this really quick and go, wow, that's great. Look at that. Almost more than doubled U.S. steel production. Cool. And this is like tariffs are working and all this stuff. But no, let's look at the actual graph. Let's look at the actual truth here. Let me pull up that other one here. Oops, looks like I accidentally closed it. Give me just a second, you guys. I'm going to pull up this actual graph. Boy, this one got me here. Let me stop sharing. Let me pull up this other graph real quick. But guys, this graph is not telling us the truth. So let's look at what the actual graph looks like. I'm going to share this with you now. And guys, this causes me, so I believe in questioning everything. This causes me to go, what can we believe when there's so much spin like this? Here's the actual graph. Okay. So it increased, well, by my math, a little less than 1%, right? 1.8, yeah. This is the actual graph, U.S. steel production. What do we believe, you guys? And again, I'm just presenting facts. You guys can decide what is it that you're going to believe? What is it that you're going to buy into? But if you look at almost everything that we are being told, it kind of mirrors what we're seeing right here, what I shared with you in these graphs. I don't want to disparage anyone. I don't want to disparage people, but I want to tell the truth. I want you guys to know the truth. I want to know the truth. You know, when I put this show together, I seek truth and facts, not my opinion. Because at the end of the day, I don't want to give you my opinion. I just want to tell you what's going on. I want to give you the truth. Did you know inflation is essentially unchanged from 2024 to 2025? We're being told that, wow, inflation is down. Inflation is down. Well, it's actually not. It's not down. When you look at the real numbers, it's almost unchanged from year to year, from 2024 to 2025. There was a headline last week, maybe the week before, that said, in a massive blow to the left, U.S. manufacturing wages increased by $1,300 a year. I thought, wow, good news. Okay, well, it's about $100 a month. That's not nothing, right, you guys? Let's try to find some good news. Let's be positive about it. But then look under the hood on what's going on in the manufacturing sector. Manufacturing actually lost almost between 68,000 like 75,000 jobs last year. Manufacturing is bleeding out right now in America. If you look under the hood and you look at the facts, I don't know, you guys. I would love your input. Where do we go from here? What do we do? You know, like I said, I question everything, and it's not because I think that inherently we're being fed a bill of goods, but honestly, when you dig under the hood, we're being fed a bill of goods. And you know what? Those of us that pay our utilities every month and go to work every day and all of that, feel it. We know something is not aligned with all of these things that we're being told and what's actually going on. I've begun to question everything, you guys. Question everything in the truth. Objectively, it's not because I'm for or against anyone per se. Obviously, I want to fight evil. I don't want evil to reign. I want to do what is good. I want to find out what is true. So we have to ask ourselves, where do we go from here, folks? There's a lot of stuff being said and told us every day. We get the new headlines. We get the narrative. And it's smoke and mirrors, folks. It's not truth. The only way that we are going to reverse this course is this right here. So our campaign message is be something different, because that's really what I believe we've got to do in order to get anywhere. Is this verse right here? 2 Chronicles 7:14. If my people who are called by my name bow their heads and pray and turn from their wicked ways, I will heal their land. This is the conclusion of the matter, folks. What did the writer Solomon of Ecclesiastes say? The end of Ecclesiastes? I have concluded this, that it basically, essentially, it's all vanity, right? And my conclusion is this: fear God and keep his commandments. And that's the conclusion. Folks, if we don't open our eyes and we don't wake up and we don't start speaking the truth, looking for the facts, instead we just repeat and regurgitate the headlines, our constitutional republic will cease to exist. We are not a democracy, folks. We are a constitutional republic. That government that was designed for the people, by the people, of the people. And I'm going to tie this now back into Wyoming as we watch consolidation of party power in the Capitol through election reform and funneling more through the state. We talk a lot about freedom and smaller government, but are we doing it? Or are we creating more bureaucracy just because we want it and we think it's right? We have got to be something different, folks. We've got to, and in order to do that, we actually have to, when we go to the polls, we have to elect differently. We have to do politics differently. We have to have a different conversation. We have to stop talking about bureaucratic band-aids and start talking about truth, solutions, and how we get back to principled citizen government. So, guys, I hope you enjoyed this show today. I know it's a little heavy. And, guys, I'm just scratching the surface today. I want you to go and look at what they're funding in all of these appropriations bills that they pass at the federal government level. I want you to look at, I want you to seek the truth and see what they're doing. I want you to go after the Epstein files. I want you to go after the facts about cost of living. I want you to go after the facts about inflation. Go after the facts. And I haven't even touched on, how about Save ID and the Peace Board and the government building 1 million homes and gold and silver prices and global currency crashing, the UN collapse. You know, all of this stuff that I haven't even touched on today that's going on. Digital ID, digital currency. All of these things going on, guys. It's time to open up our eyes. It's time to be something different. It's time to have a different conversation. So that's what I had to say to you guys today. I want to say thank you for watching. I hope you'll share a comment on this video. If you have thoughts, please feel free to reach out to me. I'd love to hear from you. It's time to share this message, you guys. And I know you may not support me in my run for governor. You may not support me in my run for governor. That's okay. But this message today matters. It should matter to every single American. It should matter to every single voter in Wyoming. That we dig into this stuff and we find the truth. We've got to do it, you guys. Tomorrow? Well, so what else is going on this week? Well, now that I'm done with my Johnny Raincloud show today, but speaking the truth, and I think it's important and it's hard, because this makes me outside, right? This isn't politically popular, what I'm saying today. And quite frankly, I don't really care. Because I think the people want to hear the truth and they want to know the truth. The truth will set us free, guys. We talk about freedom all the time, right? Giving freedom back to the people. Guess what sets us free? The truth sets us free. That also comes from the Bible. The truth will set you free. So what's coming up next? Tomorrow I'm going to talk about agriculture in Wyoming, where I stand on agriculture. I guess that's going to be a little bit more boring than today, but it's an important issue here in Wyoming, and you guys need to know where I stand on it. Friday, I'm actually really excited because Friday is like probably just a great show that I'm looking forward to. On Friday, I'm going to have the family on the show, my wife, my kids. We're going to tell stories. We're going to have some fun. I'm going to tell you my story. What's brought me here? What has brought me here? Who in their right mind even gets involved in politics in 2026. And why do we do it? I think my purpose is being defined as I go on in this journey. My purpose is being defined by realizing there's a vacuum that the truth needs to fill. There's a light that needs to be shown. And if I can do that in some way and somebody's life can be changed, because you guys, yes, I'm running for governor, but if I can somehow impact your life in a positive way and change your heart, maybe I can turn up the tune of the love in your heart for your fellow man. We can make a difference. Maybe we can do something different. Maybe we can be something different. So I'm going to end cap this show. It's almost 8:00. I'm going to wrap this up. I'm going to end cap it first. I'm going to repeat what John Adams said, the second U.S. president. I fear in every elected office, members will obtain an influence by noise and scent, by noise and not sense, by meaningness and not greatness, by meanness. I read that wrong. By meanness and not greatness, by ignorance and not learning, by contracted hearts and not large souls. There must be decency and respect. And then the last thing I'll say is, whom the sun sets free will be free indeed. And freedom doesn't come from government. In fact, externally, freedom doesn't matter, because what matters is, are we free here? Are we free to speak the truth? Are we free to stand for what is good for all people? Anyways, I'm going to wrap this up. God bless you guys. Hope you guys have a great rest of the Wednesday. I'm going to get to work, and I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this show. Let me see. Let me see if I can pick. What are we going to play today? What's going to be our closing song? You know what? I'm going to play "Love Them More" as our closing song, which is a song we wrote for this show, and for the campaign. And so, hope you enjoy this. Take care, everybody.
Sun up shining on a gravel drive, granddad's coffee in a styrofoam cup. Says, boy, this world will tell you keep what's yours, but that ain't how we were brought up. We bow our heads at the table, thank the Lord for the food and the fight, 'cause loving folks who love you back is easy, but that ain't walking in the light. Love your neighbor, mow his yard when he's hurting. Love your brother when he's slamming your door. Love a stranger when your pride says ignore him. Love the bitter heart twice what you did before. You can love your friends on Sunday morning, but Jesus taught a different kind of war. If you really want to shake this world for heaven, love your enemies more. Yeah, love your enemies more. She's got a Bible with a cracked leather spine, highlighter on every other page. Says turn the other cheek, ain't just a slogan, it's a narrow road you gotta pave. We pass the plates and the casseroles, fix the porch where the stone goes through. When they curse your name, you hit your knees, say, Father bless them like you do. Love your neighbor, mow his yard when he's hurting. Love your brother when he's slamming your door. Love a stranger when your pride Turn the other cheek ain't just a slogan, it's a narrow road you gotta pay.
You pass the plates and the casseroles, fix the porch when a storm rolls through. When they curse your name, you hit your knee.
Say, Father, bless him like you do.